excited to do this because I've grown up in the industry doing television and film my entire life, and I got to a point in my career where I kind of wanted to take it into my own hands and just have some creative control and be able to control my image, and my agents and just people around me just weren't really, I didn't think they were going as hard as they probably could. And so I turned to the internet and started to do my own thing. I created a web series called Black Actress that I wrote and produced, and along with my co-producer Brian Walker. And it was a story of just the struggle of what it's like to be a woman of color in this business, a comedic look at it, because as much as our moments are awkward, they're also very funny, and you can learn a lot from them. So I was very excited to do these panels with these lovely ladies and just talk to them about what it's like to be an actress in this business and inform you guys. So let's start with, at what point in your careers do you guys think you learned about the actual business of acting? What it's like, you know, not the auditions, but now the real deal part of it.
I think it's ever changing and ever ongoing because the business is malleable. The business is always changing, so you find yourself kind of making adjustments. I mean, when I started, my very first job was probably before some of you were even maybe thinking of being lawyers or even in school. My first job was the Cosby Show. So there was no internet, there was no Twitter, there was none of these kind of social media measures that a lot of times are now used as valuable tools for casting or even looking at who they might investigate giving a role to. So, you know, it shape shifts. The internet, all of those things were not possible forms of media and of production. So I think it continues to evolve. I think we always have to educate ourselves, which is hence why we're all sitting in this room about the process and this business.
Yeah, I agree. And you said, you asked at what point did you, I just want to make sure I got the question, at what point
did you learn the real business of it? So not the, I guess, the fairy tale-ness of being an actor.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because that's one of the key things. When you're in the business, but you learn the real business side of it, there's a clear distinction. And I would say that happened for me because I started as a teenager in more the music business and then transitioned into the acting business. And I feel like I learned around, I would say, you know, in my mid-20s, but when I was really working in Hollywood, when I moved to LA and I actually was taking meetings with executives and casting directors, that's when I started to realize, you know, the broader scope of what people are looking for, what gets you the job, why I didn't get something. Sometimes, you know, I thought it was just so simple, and then I realized it's much more complex when you are in the business. And being here in Los Angeles, going to different studios like Fox or Universal and just learning, okay, this is what they're expecting, this is what they're looking for, the Twitter followers, the Facebook, all of that started happening, I would say in the last 5 years for me, when it became more, oh, I'm aware that the scope of the business is changing, so I started to try to keep up and adjust and change with it so that, you know, of course, I can still be a growing artist, you know, constantly. It's an evolution, like Essence was saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything. We're all going to agree.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's always changing, and I think the point where I first started learning about it was really during my early acting training. The studio that I was studying at was teaching acting and administration at the same time. So from the very beginning, we were always trained to know that your agent gets 10% and they do 10% of the work. You gotta do the 90%, you gotta figure it out. You have to figure out your own casting, you have to know how to even direct yourself sometimes, because you're not always going to have the most capable directors or the directors that you vibe with, and it's still your performance on the line at the end of the day. So I think I was really fortunate to have that training, because going into it, even my very, very first auditions, I already had some knowledge of it's not only about whatever talent I can hone, it's also about, you know, the business side and how I'm presented, how people see me, even as I see myself differently. There's a way that people see you when you walk into a room. All of that was really just as emphasized as our scenes that we were putting up every week.
With all of that then, what is the biggest change you guys have seen in the industry for yourselves since when you started to now, like Essence, how you were saying, when you first got into this, like, you didn't have to be on the internet to do this thing.
There wasn't the pressure to kind of put your private life forth so people could find you popular. You know, it's like it was completely separate. There was the artist and your profession, and then your personal life was just that, unless you were involved in a scandal. And now, you know, it's almost advantageous to be a part of a scandal.
Some people create scandals just to pop off. I mean, really, it's insane.
I mean, I would definitely say that's the part that I have. You know, I'm confessing in a room full of 50 strangers, but that's the part that I have the most discomfort with, you know, because what I love about this business and why I got into this business has nothing to do with being famous or wanting people to take pictures of me. It had to do with telling stories and being creative and connecting to, you know, humanity. That's why I do it. So, you know, all this newfangled way of outreach can be absolutely advantageous and a blessing and wonderful when you come across people who genuinely, you know, love your work or genuinely are interested or you inspire or touch in some way. But so much of it is just, you know, smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, it has changed, exactly. It has become, I think what has changed for me is the obsession with celebrity more so than the obsession with the work. And I think it's not just the fans or the audience or the press, it's also the people that are in the business, the actors themselves, the singers themselves. I come from both sides, like I was saying, the music business and the, you know, acting industry. I think there's an obsession or this idea that I am a greater artist if I am, you know, if I act like a diva, or if I'm a bee, or if I, you know, do crazy, eclectic things, somehow I'm going to be hotter. Instead of focusing on the work, which I think is so important, and I've always wanted to be a singer and an actress since I was like 5 years old. And yes, I wanted to be a star, but I mean, there was some balance. I actually was the girl who loved taking pictures, so there's a balance. I love doing, like, you know, photos, and I like, you know, being someone who is in the you know, spotlight, for lack of better words. But I think what I do love about it is that it's based on the work that I do, and I don't mind the side of, like, people wanting to, you know, touch you and know you and get close to you and your fans having a personal connection. But it gets a little crazy when the business has changed so much to be an obsession with the idea of you and not about the real work. And that's the part that's a little bit like, come on guys, let's get back to what we all started, you know, this for.
Yeah. How has that, I guess, affected your career, just your online presence? Because all of you have online, especially Numa with Black and Sexy TV, and even just you personally and everything you're doing. I think, how have you guys seen, do you find that it helps since, you know, this has been a big part of careers? I've had many conversations with different producers who talk to me about booking certain actors based on their Twitter following, and that hurts my feelings, but it's the realities of it. So what has that been for you guys overall in your careers?
Well, I'm not getting booked so far off of my Twitter following. I have like 3,000 followers on Twitter, but they're all really engaged followers. I feel very close to the audience, to the people who know me, who know the work that I'm doing thus far. Being on the internet has definitely got me called into many rooms. People know my work that I would have never knew my work, or talking about me in rooms and bringing me in for things. So there's, you know, but then if I'm going to go against someone who has thousands and thousands of followers and that's really the last determining factor, then I may not, until I get to that place, book that job. And I'm not actually that upset about that, because I think that people who have amassed those amounts of followers, if they're not, you know, buying them or doing something crazy, there's a reason. They have a point of view that people want to listen to, whether they're just funny or they're sarcastic or they're saying meaningful things or they're making people laugh. Whatever it is that they're doing, there's a reason people are coming to be around that person and want to see them in their feed, and that that's something valuable that I think producers should consider. You know, it's just part of the world that we live in, and I actually don't get mad at it. You know, one day maybe I'll be that person that's getting booked because, oh, people know her from Black and Sexy TV and she does all these different things, and that's gonna edge me out from the next person, and it's just the way it goes.
Yeah, I guess I feel differently about it. I totally understand what your point of view. I guess I feel like, you know, what you're saying, like your show, what you do online, your online presence can help you, which I think is amazing, and it's actually like a plus. But I guess what the other side of it for me is like when producers are looking at those people who have those Twitter followers but don't have, they're not following it up with actual talent. So that's the thing that I feel like is just a little harder in this business when the talent isn't considered maybe as the primary focus. I think it should be a plus. Because I do like the idea of, like, I have, you know, a decent amount, I don't know, like 30,000 followers. It's not like I have like 1 million followers. But I think it's important to show, like, okay, I have followers on Twitter, but am I doing anything that's worthy of being followed? That's the thing. Like, am I doing anything that's worthy of being influenced? Having the ability to influence, I think shouldn't be taken for granted. And I think to influence young minds, to influence Twitter followers, or to influence your Instagram people, you have to have something to say. And of course, you know, like Numa was saying, a point of view is important, but I think we should use that point of view to do something important and have a point of view that's influencing, you know, the younger generation with something that's not just, you know, I don't know, something kind of superficial. That's just, you know, I think there has to be some form of balance. But like, you know, like she said, the business is real like that, and I just have my feelings and I gotta get over it.
We were taking it online to, you know, grow your following there instead of just kind of being like a regular independent producer and just, you know, only pitching to studios. You know, you guys really have built something great. So what was that?
Okay, well, I think being an independent producer but still pitching to studios as your primary focus is kind of putting you in a different category of independent. So in the digital space, it's a truly independent space where there are no gatekeepers at all. I mean, at our company, we greenlight all of our projects based on, did we laugh when we talked about it? Do we like it? You know, does the team respond to it? And it doesn't go through any other channel or any other person who's not understanding what we're understanding, you know, and we are able to take those risks. So it's really in the spirit of true independence. And although we have one of our series is being developed at HBO right now, which is incredible and it's going to be great for everybody. But we don't own HBO, we own Black and Sexy TV. So it always came back to kind of that entrepreneurial spirit that I've always had since I was a kid, as well as wanting to be an actress. Yeah. I've always had that spirit of wanting to be able to make my own money and claim my own thing. And I attracted those people in my life who felt the same way, and we were all artists and filmmakers. So there came Black and Sexy TV. So no matter what we do with another studio, or any other co-branding, it always comes back to we need to grow what we also have and keep that inside. So that was always the goal. Just being online, I'm excited about doing another series online because I feel like I can do any character I want now. I go play this, we're gonna develop, you know, this period piece, and I'm gonna play this person, and that's really exciting, and I feel like the industry is very much taking notice of that. They're scouring online for new voices, especially networks like HBO that care about having series now that have cultural relevance. That really is a big part of the mandate for cable network, anyhow. So if that's, you know, part of someone's goal, I would definitely say develop something for the web and put it out there, and, you know, have your proof of concept, and the right people will come to you.
Your day-to-day grind of being an actress, how has it been so far with just kind of this uprising of women of color?
I mean, I think that there's definitely more opportunity because there's more venues, you know, so that alone in itself produces more opportunity. But it is, what I've found to be interesting is in the last, you know, 6-7 years is the whole notion of open casting. Like, we're open to all ethnicities, we're open to all types. And what I have found when that happens, most likely, is that a white woman gets cast.
And I'm like, I don't understand. And I started to think about it because I was like, why does this keep happening? And I guess my revelation or my hypothesis is the fact that the people on the other side of the table are wanting some sort of connection. They're wanting some sort of tissue to tether them to the person on the other side of the desk. And if their world is very homogenous, then that is what they connect to. And so they think, oh, well, we saw so many, and yeah, they were good, and blah, 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 but this is the person, she just was right. And I always go, well, why was she so right? What do the other people in your life look like? And so until we as Black women and as Black artists and as Black men, until we also are on the other side of the desk, I think that will continue to happen when it comes to open casting. I think that they will continue to covet what they know.
I'm in the audition scene and back on the grind, and I feel like for some, I see that there is more. I think maybe just the climate is definitely like looking for Black actresses and just Black artists. I think it's definitely, like you said, an uprising of that. I don't know if it's because of, Lupita, or because we've had like the help, or there's been, 12 Years a Slave. But I do think that the industry it's like a cycle. And I believe that Hollywood is chasing a fad in some ways. Sometimes it's the, exotic, ambiguous girl from Brazil. Sometimes it's the, really Afrocentric sister girl. Sometimes they're like, oh, we want, the Queen Latifah kind of look, or, Win Monique, or it's like certain things that I think Hollywood kind of buys into. The cycle kind of comes back around. So I felt like in the last year or 2 years ago, I wasn't in at that time. Like, there was no Lupita, there was different looks of girls. I'm a brown skinned woman, I'm short, it wasn't like I was in at that time, so it was hard to get certain jobs that I felt like I was right for. They were like, no, we want to go with someone that just feels a little bit more ethnically ambiguous, is which I was being told all the time. And I wasn't really popular amongst Hollywood casting, amongst Hollywood executives. Although people are like, girl, what you talking about? You always working. But it's a blessing to be working, and I'm not, discrediting that. I'm just saying what the cycle has been. It goes around, and then it comes back around, and then watch, the light-skinned brother's gonna be back in, and Idris is gonna be out of style. And then when Idris is out of style, then we're gonna go back to the Shamar-looking types, the Shamar Moores, and and then we'll go back to the Lupitas. So just know, when you feel discouraged, or just in general about the business, there will always be your turn. Yeah. You will get your turn again. So I wouldn't say it's all the way one way. It's just, I just think people just constantly go in a cycle.
I agree. And just for you guys on the other side, I think that you really want to link up, and for us as well, kind of going back to what we look for in our representation, is somebody who understands the long haul, somebody who understands that, this is not about the next year or 2 or 5, that it really is. I mean, yeah, there will be dry spells and there will be upswings, and if I had started this career knowing it would take me 25 years to get to this point, I don't know that I would have ever, taken that first step. I would have been like, no, that's too long. Are you kidding? And clearly, you're dealing with a distinct archetype here, sitting on this stage. No one up here is looking for the fast buck. No one up here is looking to, compete with Kim Kardashian in terms of attention. That is not why we attached ourselves to this business. That's not what we're about. So, it's really important to make sure that you're aligned with your talent as to what their goals are, what their, you said that earlier, Numa, about just knowing that the person on the other side of, and behind you, you said it as well, Naturi, that the people behind you get where it is you're trying to go.
and want to be there with you the whole ride.
Well, I want to say thank you to you guys, and to Tony, and to the whole organization. I hope you guys got a lot of information of what it's like to be a Black actress, and yeah, thank you
so much for having me.
Thank you.
This was really awesome.